beauty of Gurdjieff's suggestion to use life as fuel for that inner work is that there are countless ways, creative ways, that each one of us, according to our own capacities, our own inspiration, can turn a moment into something higher, can walk out of that which pulls us down, can recognize the momentum and redirect it before it becomes too strong for us. All of these things are within our reach. There is nothing impossible about living in peace, living without being in some obsessed identification, living with some sense of humor towards ourselves, living with the reality of our weaknesses, of our bad habits, and discovering that new horizon of our deeper selves, our higher selves. Cleansing the inside of the cup is a joyous experience. Sometimes it's as simple as just going for a walk to get the body to properly channel that energy, to balance out that center so that the emotional center is not stealing all that energy for negative reasons. You decide when it's time to relax, when it's time to give yourself something to eat, when it's time to read something, when it's time to play, when it's time to be silent. That's the creativity of this work, the intimate, personal dimension of it, which is why Gurdjieff says, verify everything for yourselves, and you will verify that it is not this impossible task, but in some ways, effortless effort. It takes the effort of choice, of attention, of right use of the moment, of knowing how to not misuse the energy, of how to balance things out, but all of that is a fluid, harmonic thing. So my advice again is try it from a different perspective. Don't bring to it that which religion has made heavy and oppressive. Bring to it that lightness of being, that gracefulness, that joy of the Master, which was indeed Christ's way. You say it's just that the necessary suffering that comes through seeing one's weaknesses and real limitations can be quite crushing to one's self-image. But don't you hear that in that very statement you are doing this work from personality rather than from essence, which doesn't have a self-image? It is the self-images that we are stepping away from, so that there are no requirements of who we think we are or who we think we should be. And after the initial shock of, wow, I'm really like that, I'm everything that I don't like in other people, we get past that. We don't stay in that suffering, because that's not where the work is meant to lead us. This is just as we go up the mountain. But observing I, that which is seeing it, is already past all this. So beyond the necessary suffering that we are multiplicity, we are asleep, etc., is the ecstasy of being given a chance to be, to live our birthright of a life that we tasted in times as children, and that we see written of in the great mystical writings, and that is entirely within our reach. To fully grasp the value of each moment, Sleep is to take things for granted. Sleep is to get lost in identification. The alternative is to live this life and rejoice in the moment. You say that the mechanical life has a momentum of its own, thus you grow further and further from your essential self, and you call that a passive form of living, just letting it happen. That passive form of living is simply sleep, that's all. Vigilance or watchfulness or awareness of what is happening, that should be the natural way. That is the way of one who is acquiring some claim to living one's individual life and not just floating along. And the motivational component is precisely that it is so good to be in that consciousness of living one's life, cleansed from all of the folly that turns it toxic. To live it passively, which you call your biggest enemy, is to wallow in all of that which makes life so difficult. Uspensky uses the metaphor of the man reading a book in his living room while his whole house is on fire. Of course, we have to get out of the house that is on fire, and what that urgency is to enter fully into the here and now of existing, which is the discovery of the sacredness of the life we have each breath at a time. This work liberates us to be able to live in that way. And there is nothing grim about that. You say, how to free oneself from this mechanical form of habitual passive living? Become conscious, become present. Get out of yourself enough to see the wider world and to recognize the magnificence of being made a witness of the majesty of existence. To sleepwalk through it is virtually blasphemy and a tragedy when we come to the end of it and we've wasted so much time. Each moment, each sunrise, sunset, each passing person is an extraordinary opportunity to live that miracle of existence. And all this work is meant to do is to put us in the consciousness of that reality. And recognizing the subtle and not so subtle damage of being mechanical, being asleep, taking for granted, is crucial, because what is missing in all that is the holy, is reality itself, is our own dignity as a human being, to live fully in our life now, and not to sail down the river our experience of life for momentary comfort and identification. And all we need to do is to just be more conscious. Rise up out of the habitual ways, use the events of life and of our inner functioning as alarm clocks to remember, simply to remember what we are after. And that alarm clock is to awaken us to beauty, to joy, to peace, to the wonder of our existence. You said that living a life of prayer in the world is a very big, faraway goal, but the heart of the teaching is to merge attention and prayer, so that ceaseless prayer is presence, is focused awareness, is right use of our energy, will, attention to be in the moment. That is prayer, and that is not a faraway goal. That is claiming our existence while we are here.